This is Vegas All-Net Radio, the final frontier of free speech.
Views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect those of Vegas All-Net Radio, its affiliates, or its parent company.
I just love this intro. I can't help but snap. Why aren't you snapping?
Because I'm adjusting my headset.
Oh. I'm Holly, and today... What is your alias? I'm sorry, I probably should have talked about that before we started the program. Would you like to introduce yourself?
No, you can introduce me.
Phillips.
Yeah,
I like
Aaron
to call
Phillips.
you Phillips.
Oh, that's fine. You can call me Phillips.
Phillips of Phillips and Cash. Do you like that?
That's like Sonny of Sonny and Cher. That's fine.
So that's okay?
That'll work.
I wish I had a sidekick all the time.
You have Lawrence.
Yeah, Lawrence is my sidekick. He always helps me out. And JPEG. You're listening to Good Medicine today. I'm Holly Davis, and Aaron Phillips is with me. And the reason why is because we're kicking around an idea here, a thought,
right?
An issue
that
I think many people are going through and need a little guidance. I think we all do. Mm-hmm. And I think that you are able to help me well because you reared twin daughters.
Yes, and I had the hairline to prove it.
Twin daughters. And my dad, too, bless his heart, he has silver hair raising me and my twin sister and I. And so today we're talking about rearing children. I was told that you're not supposed to say raise. It's rearing. Yeah, my English teacher in high school. Rearing children with happiness. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be drudgery. Children don't take from your life. So we're just going to put some truths in place, and that rearing children can actually be done something that is done in joy when we remember to be childlike too, and that everything is not so serious. With kids, is anything serious with children?
You would think not.
Let's hope not.
Right.
Let's hope they're just children and they be what they be. They're kids.
Right.
I was also told not to call them kids because that's a baby goat. But I say, I know. I say kids. My kids.
Yeah.
We rear kids in a way that we are still childlike. So we're going to do a little quiz.
Uh-oh.
A little experiment.
I didn't test. I didn't study.
Yeah, you don't have to study. It's okay. It's okay. When's the last time you had a piece of grape bubble gum?
Oh, my God. Probably right after I had my braces removed. At the age of 13, it was the first thing I did was have a piece of bubble gum.
Okay, that's everyone today. I want you to go find a piece of grape bubble gum. Actually, I might be packing some. I probably am because it makes you happy. That's what kids are. When's the last time you had a popsicle?
Wow. Probably. Are you talking about like the fudge popsicle or like the chocolate coated vanilla ice cream inside the like a Good Humor bar?
No. I wasn't talking about either of those.
Oh,
you know, like a maybe the Otter Pops or just
like the frozen
a grape,
the grape
pops. Or an orange Pops.
Forever.
The reason why is because I remember babysitting my nieces and nephews, and I was probably in my 20s, early 20s, late 20s, and they're like, "Hey, have a popsicle with us." I'm like, oh, no, not too busy. I was probably on my phone or whatever, not too busy. And they're like, "Come on." And I had the popsicle with them. We just sat down and chilled out and had a popsicle. And it was the best popsicle I'd ever had in my life.
Mm-hmm. There are certain things that you could do that just kind of take you back, which is what I think you're referring to where mentally you just go back in time. You know, you smell the ocean. You're automatically sent to the beach somewhere. Or you hear the Good Humor truck. No matter how old you are, you just want to yell out the window, "The ice cream man is here!" You know.
Ma, the ice cream man is here. Yes.
So I mean, it's you hope as you get older you don't lose those little things because it's the things that sort of keep you in balance, I think. But it's been a while since I've treated myself to a lot of those kid-like things. So it takes you back.
And even taking us out of that mindset that those are kid-like things, because I think that life should truly be enjoyed. We took our son and the girls. Poor little boy, he's on his own with all these girls everywhere. Fishing for the first time at the lake, Floyd Lamb Park. I call it Flam Park. Love that park. If you haven't been to Floyd Lamb Park and you're in the state of Nevada, you need to go because it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. There's peacocks, there's little bunny rabbits everywhere. It's a really beautiful place, and we took our kids fishing for the first time. So do you remember the first time you ever went fishing?
No, because I don't fish.
You've never been fishing?
Never fished. It's just not my thing. My wife actually took my daughters fishing a couple of times.
But you've never gone?
No.
Do you want to go?
No. Not for any reason other than the fact it just doesn't interest me.
Help me out here.
It's just not something of interest for me.
Well, I'm going to tell you, this little boy threw that line out. Actually, his dad helped him, because that can kind of get sticky. If you have never, since you've never been fishing, you don't know what it's like to have the hook come back and hook you.
I can imagine.
But he threw the line out, and I'm going to tell you, the look on that kid's face of happiness and joy is what I'm trying to leave an indelible mark in all of our minds, that having that joy with life. I know that when we get older, we pay bills and everything is very serious now. We can't dance in the car. When's the last time you danced in the car?
This morning on my way to a meeting,
good,
actually.
Good. When's the last time you waved to somebody? I mean, you notice that when you wave to other people and they're just so
in the
gruff?
car? In the car?
Yeah, just wave.
This morning when I was crisscrossing a parking lot and I stopped and the person across from me stopped and I just kind of went like this and come on, and I got a big smile from the person on the other side.
Okay, good. It wasn't the bad kind of wave?
No. It wasn't a one-finger wave.
Okay, good. So that's good. You know, I noticed too, my kids will wave to other people in the car. They do that all the time.
Right.
And we always do an experiment of how many people wave back.
Right.
And would you be amazed if I said hardly anyone will wave back at a kid?
In today's society, no.
What's wrong with you people? Wave back at a kid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or say hi and smile at them. Or if somebody introduces their child, say, instead of how old's your kid, what's his name, bend down, look down at the kid and say, hi, what's your name? How old are you? How you doing?
Actually, I did that yesterday. I was at a client's facility yesterday talking to them, and he had his daughter who was in middle school. So what is that? What's the age for middle school nowadays? 11, 10,
yeah, 11,
whatever?
12, 13.
So,
yeah.
So we were talking business with her father, and at the end, when we were done, she came up and sat next to him on the where we were sitting, and I just looked right at her and said, so how did we do in the meeting? What school do you go to? What grade? And I did all that. I love doing that stuff because I think we have to connect on all levels today. And even though this wasn't a toddler or 3 or 4 or 5-year-old, this was a young lady. You could just see that when I paid attention to her, she just kind of crawled into that little shy ball. I'm fine. What's your favorite subject? Reading. So that she reverted back to a little more of a childlike state when I asked the questions about her.
Well, yes, I find that very interesting that people light up when you ask them questions. Adults do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
We love it when people ask about us. How are you doing? You doing okay? What are you really up to? How you feeling? And really mean it. And so imagine if we if we know that we enjoy that, imagine if we put ourselves in the child's place more often in parenting, or if you're a teacher, if you work with children, I hope that you like children and that if you put yourself in their position, they like to be spoken to respectfully and lovingly and affirm, and that they're important just like you and I do.
Absolutely. It makes them feel involved. And a child growing up, and this is one of the lessons we taught our girls, is as much as we love having them around and we involve them in just about everything we did, there are times that's not appropriate for the child to get involved in. And that was a lesson that they were learning as they were growing up, because not all, when you see adults having a conversation, that's not necessarily the time you want to get involved. It's not for you. You know
what? So kind of like back in the 40s or 50s when there was speak when spoken to, you're to be seen and not to be heard. I think we're really out of those ages. And what I teach my children, I work with a lot of different children. I have 5 children myself. Not that makes me an expert. A lot of times it makes me a warrior who's going through it with you.
Right.
I'm going through it with you in every developmental stage. So I have a 3-year-old who's going to be in preschool, at kindergartner this year, elementary school, middle school, and a high schooler. So I have a little bit of experience of the
spectrum.
The spectrum and of failing, of messing up, making mistakes as a parent, which we are going to do.
We're not perfect. We had, as kids growing up ourselves, we had the best model to follow and watch to see how you want to be or not be, and that was our own parents. And I made a conscious decision with my wife after growing up in my household, how I wanted to be. And yet, as I'm getting older, I'm finding I'm more like my father was with me, which is not a bad thing. My dad was a disciplinarian, but we had that path that we could look at and say, okay, I will do this better. I won't do that. I would do this if I was in that situation. And so it's not a perfect science. I don't care about all the books you can read on parenting and everything else, because that's still only the perspective of the author from their experience. Maybe they did some interviews with some other people, but we had the role model to at least either fashion ourselves after or realize I would do things differently. I had my own, listen, I had my own perception, and this is probably bad to say at this time with all the heat this gentleman's taking, but at the time, the Cosby Show was the hit TV show in the 80s. And I envisioned myself as a dad to be like the Bill Cosby character, Heathcliff Huxtable, talking through the scenarios. There's no spanking, there's no hitting, there's no yelling. You're talking through it. And for the most part, I'd like to say that I did that. I had a few exceptions. But again, it was just the path of how you wanted to be a parent. And we had the role models to figure out what to do or not to do. I
think that's what's lacking right now is examples and role models. I also have, I don't know how, but I've always ended up, not that I didn't want to, but helping in the Sunday school. Well, I guess if you have kids, you're going to be teaching the Sunday school kids as well. So probably for the last 16 years, I've been helping off and on in Sunday school, and I do work with kids as well. I'm a licensed therapist, so I work with kids. And kids who have a lot of serious issues, a lot of serious problems. But I think for the most part, it's pretty congruent all the way around for all of us. We just want peace in our homes. We don't want yelling, screaming. And if we grew up with that, for sure, we had a notepad and said, we're not going to be that. I'm not going to do that. I want my home like the Huxtables. We all do. We all do. The show, the Huxtables. On the show. and that is, is it reality? Can you have a home like that that's like that program? And I want to say, I think that if you want a peaceful home with your children, whether they're in the home anymore or not, I think it has to start with you. If you want a peaceful home, you need to be a peaceful person. If you want calm kids, then you have to be calm. If you want them to be in control, you have to be in control. We can't ask our kids to do much more than we are. And so really they learn from an example. And I think that is one thing that we could all really look for is for examples that we can emulate. And also being, if we're looking for heroes, I don't think we need to look any further than ourselves. We have the power to do what it takes to parent our children.
Right.
By the sheer natural consequence that they are your children, you birth them, and you have every ability that it takes to rear them. And
generationally, that changes in terms of the desire of parents within a society. Time, addictions, jobs, spouse, whatever the situations are, where a lot of today's parents struggle with that and are not the role model that you and I grew up with our parents. Whether the role model is a negative or a positive, it's still a model that you can follow, not follow, emulate, not emulate, and make your own decisions. So I agree. I think there's the old, and I was a substitute teacher for a number of years here in Clark County, and there's the old saying, you're not dropping off your kids at school to be parented. They're here to learn, and education starts at home, whether it's education as a person, education in terms of reinforcing what they've learned in school. That's got to come from the parent, not the teacher.
I agree. In a perfect world, I agree. They do spend a lot of time with their teachers, and you would hope that they go in, they get education, and then you back up what they've learned, and that you're teaching your children the most part of what their mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional well-being. It's made up in homes. That's the hope. But the truth is, they spend a lot of time at school, and they have a lot of other influences. And what do you think is more influential in a child's life, statistically, just with studies, parents or outside influences?
In today's society, I would say outside influences are.
Nailed it. Exactly right. So
because the parents aren't around enough.
We're busy. We're working. And I'm going to say we're busy and we're working. Right. However, I think we need to give our kids one up in life, because we know that's the thing. That's the deal. There's outside influences. We know what's going on. However, if we can make sure that they're in alignment with the best teachers, with the best friends, with the best outside activities that they do, to give them one up, and making sure that you know who your kid's hanging out with, what they're watching, what games they're playing. I believe that is one huge part of the key. We're going to take a little break. You're listening to Good Medicine. I'm Holly Davis. I'm a counselor here in Las Vegas, and I'm willing to take some phone calls too if you have any questions about parenting at 702 483-4444. I'm going to give you so many tools, and even some of the tools that I use, some resources, not Dr. Spock, not Dr. Dobson. I don't have any problem with those people, but some things that are actually going to be pertinent for today's children that really, really works. So stay with us. You're listening to Good Medicine. You're listening to Good Medicine with Erin Phillips and Holly Davis. Today, Erin is my guest because I think you have a little experience because we're talking about parenting.
Yes, just a little. Had twin daughters. I still have them. But now they're after college. They graduated college.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Looking back, now, I mean, you've done it. We should actually, instead of when the kids get a diploma, degree, we should get a crown. Because, I mean, I'm going to say high five to you on that one.
All right.
You did it. Looking back, what do you think were some of the things that really worked?
Responsibility, accountability, and something you wrote down during the break is communication. Girls will tend to want to talk more with mom than dad directly, even though they know dad's going to find out because mom's going to share with dad anyway. But I was blessed with the fact that for all intents and purposes, when the girls needed us for something, some opinion or some thought on something, no matter how major or minor in their world, they always wanted to talk to both of us. Okay, now as they got older, ironically, that's when they started swaying more to my wife, and I started getting information secondhand, but that's okay. At least I knew what was going on. But I'll give you an example of responsibility and accountability. My girls were maybe 10, 11, 12 years old. They're at that age of talking about cell phones, okay? And I said to them, I'm going to give you a challenge. I said, I'm not against giving you a cell phone, but you got to understand it's not a toy. And I went through that whole conversation. I said, but you're going to have to earn it for me. I want you to write a 2-page, double-spaced paper on why you feel at your age you deserve a cell phone, okay? And they sat down. They had help from my wife. They did some research online and, whatnot. And I was thinking in the back of my mind like a pay-as-you-go phone, figuring at least I can control the costs and expenses. They actually did some research on that would actually have costed more to have a pay-as-you-go phone because you pay X amount per day, whether there's minutes on the phone or not, plus the cost of the phone in your plan. Make a long story short, they submitted to me their own reasons, emergencies, friends, pickup, and all that stuff. And sure enough, help with my wife. They had help with my wife. We went and we got them their first cell phone. Now, they were expecting the toy. They were expecting the new toy for their phone, and we said, here's step 2 of the responsibility. We're going to take your upgrade, and we're going to get new phones. You're going to get the hand-me-down phone to make sure you can handle the responsibility of keeping the phone, don't losing it, don't break it, and all that stuff. And they did tremendously well. So that was something we did to teach them responsibility and accountability. They earned it. Not that they didn't deserve it as my children, but they earned it from me. They didn't just get it because everybody else has it. And that was important to us as parents, not to give stuff to our children just because their friend has something.
That's a great idea. That's a really great idea. My dad did the same thing. He gave me a jalopy for a car, and he said, listen, you better know how to change the wheels. So as a kid, I had to know how to change the tire, check the oil, and I always had to have a half a tank of gas. If it ever went down below, believe me, those keys would be gone, and you were going nowhere. I think responsibility is a great idea, and I think giving them a test and check test is a great idea. And the other thing is praising children. When you want them to do something and you want to see them succeed, it's okay to know and understand there's going to be some areas that they could fail in. They could have lost that phone. They could have been irresponsible. They could have hiked the bill up. But I like to talk about, well, here's what I want to see. And then praise them every step of the way when they do things right. For me, I think children are a lot like a dog. I had my first dog that I've ever had as an adult, and I noticed that and I read a lot about it, when you praise the dog when they do things right, they love that. And when you ignore the things that they've done that you don't like, they don't like that at all. And children are very much the same. We're all creatures that love to please, and especially kids. They want to please their parents. They want to please their teachers, really at the heart of every child. Now, there might be some parents out there going, well, not my kid. Try it. I challenge you to try it. Praise your child much more than you put your child down. That's every human. I don't like to be put down. You don't like to be put down. No one likes to, give you constructive criticism and tell you all the things and take you aside. Okay, now you did this wrong, you did this wrong, you did this wrong. Okay, where did I do anything right? And if you hear one little thing, you can go on and on and on. And that's the same with children. Telling them the things that they did well, and even just out of the blue, it wouldn't hurt to pull your kid aside and say, you know what, I love you, and I just appreciate that you're my child.
Absolutely. Positive reinforcement goes a long way.
With everyone. I say, listeners, do that with your coworkers, with your children, and just passersby, just giving them a one-up in life is when you praise them. By the way, I will take calls today, 702-483-4444. If you have a special situation with your child, or you think your child is different, or all the things aren't working with your child, I'd be willing to take a stab at what I think might help. I'm open to giving some solutions. I know for me, I have a child that is a redheaded boy, okay? And the gray hair, One of the programs that I used was Total Transformation.
Okay.
I was driving down the street, and this guy gets on the radio and says, do you have a child that won't listen, won't follow instructions, and he does this and this? I'm like, yes, that's me. And so I took this, and this was before I even started with my education. And if you took the program and you followed the directions and filled out the form, you would actually get your money back. So I think I paid maybe $350. Best investment in my life, because they gave you the money back, and I refer this tool to my parents that I work with all the time. Total Transformation. One of the things that Dr. Lehman talks about in Total Transformation is you being in control. So let's just say you're being a human. Kids are getting up in the morning, and you've got places to go quickly, quickly, hurry up. Kids are on kid speed, and adults are on adult speeds, and I'm on Holly speed all the time. I'm always in a hurry. Let's go. Busy, busy, busy. And for kids, don't do that.
Right.
They don't act the way that we act. So if you want them to move it, and you're getting more and more angry, upset, you can tell that you're losing your patience and your temper. Kids are really good about figuring that out, and they are able to figure out our emotions probably a lot quicker than we are. And they're saying in the back of their head, wow, she's losing it.
Let's see how much more we can push.
Let's push the buttons.
Right.
Can't find my shoes. Oopsie. Right? They can never find their shoes. They didn't brush their teeth. Their hair's crazy. All those kinds of things. And if you would really, truly, in all situations that you feel are crisis, your crisis is different than mine, being late to work, and if you're late one more time, you get fired. That's a real crisis.
That's big.
That's a real, and these are situations that happen. We have school coming up, and parents want to get going. They have a job they have to get to. We want you to be at school safely.
Right.
Not speeding on your cell phone and double parked and doing U-turns where kids are going. We want your kids to arrive safely.
Right.
So that's the most important thing, even more important than your job.
Right.
Getting the kids where they need to go. So it's inconsequential if the hair is crazy. That's not a reflection of you. If they don't brush their teeth, they're not going to have a lot of friends, so you can let that go too. Shoes you might have to find, and that is as calm as, I'm going to need you to find your shoes.
Right.
I appreciate you finding your shoes quickly, and I'll tell you what, tomorrow, if you can get them ready before and we get them on quickly, we can do that for a week. Friday is ice cream day. Okay, so give them something to work towards.
Sure.
There's going to be a prize involved, and
Right.
who doesn't work well with a prize involved?
Motivation is always a good factor.
Motivation. So, and then praising them. Thank you for getting that shoe and listening. And if no one else is listening but one child, you pick that one child. You say, you know what? I'm so glad
Right.
that you're listening. And boy, they will hop to real quick.
That'll get everybody else in line.
That will get everybody else in line very quickly. You always have to find one of the leaders. And let's just say in a situation that no one's listening, no one's falling in line and doing, then I would go get in the car. Go ahead and get in the car and start backing out.
Okay.
And see how quickly
They come running.
they come running, because you're not messing. And I don't believe in asking them and asking and asking them and the 1, 2, 3. Because that says, I'm going to actually give you a count of 3. That's your leisurely time to
Right.
go take a 3.
Right.
Take a 3 count.
Right.
No, I don't have a 3 count. I need you to do what I'm asking you to do. and I need you to do it now. So we don't give them any of that room. Now, if I'm going to ask you to do something, hand me that cell phone. Hand me that cell phone. Hand me that. Thank you. Or hand me that cell phone, please. Hand me that cell phone, please. It's going to take a time for you, right? Every human has to take a time to process that information.
Right.
So with children, they might take a little more time, and you have to make sure that you've communicated with them what you want. So a lot of times it's not really their fault that they're not picking up what you're throwing down, right? So give them an opportunity to receive what you've said, and you can even say, do you understand what I'm asking you? Please hand me the cell phone.
Right. Now.
Now. Yes, now. That's a pet peeve of mine, and also because I said so is a pet peeve. And then, do you want something to cry about? I'll give you something to cry about. I'm also a believer that children, if you say, I need you to get your shoes on right now, I'm in a hurry, and if you can continue to do that in a quick fashion, and we do that all week long, it's going to be ice cream day, and then all of a sudden you start lightening up, you lighten up the tone, and because if they start getting upset and they start crying, the worst thing that we can do is not acknowledge their emotions.
Right.
I know you're upset right now with mommy because mommy's not being fun and happy because mommy's in a hurry, but I really need you to get your shoes on. I would appreciate it so much. Do you want to wear your pink ones? So you see how we changed from I need you to get your shoes on now to please help me find your shoes. Help me to understand where your shoes are. Okay, so just changing those things and acknowledging the emotions, just like you like it when you've shared something with someone, or you've been vulnerable or open, or you told somebody how you felt, and they go, okay, well, that's cool. It's kind of damp out, huh? Kind of humid, huh?
Right.
What do you think about the weather?
Kind of push you aside.
Acknowledge what they're going through. And we're actually going to take a break, and we're going to talk about fighting children, acknowledging that they have some pretty severe emotions as little kids. They feel even more than we feel. We've learned to kind of not feel as much. We're a little tougher, but they're not. So we're going to talk about fighting, communication with them, and what else did we say we're going to talk about? I forgot.
We'll see. We'll
play it
around.
by ear. I can't. It's not that I really forgot. I just can't read my handwriting.
She can't read her handwriting. You should see this piece of paper.
It's okay. We'll figure it out. And if there is somebody who has any questions, 702-483-4444. You're listening to Good Medicine. You're listening to Good Medicine. I'm Holly Davis. Aaron Phillips is here. He is co-hosting with me today because we're talking about children, our experiences of rearing children, and just some resources for those of you who are listening who are rearing children that might be a little more difficult.
I want to say raising children.
Raising kids.
I like that better than rearing.
With your babies.
That's
that
right.
Are a
Bringing them up.
A little more difficult with your kids, your babies. There are some difficult kids out there, you know?
Yeah, sure.
There are.
And again, I think this is much of a reflection on society today, where you don't have the two-parent households. Perhaps may be a reason why, even if you do. I mean, for whatever the reason, mom and dad are just not on the same page, and children, they're smart. Kids are smart. They will look for every opening to take advantage of, to favor themselves, and some just go too far, and then what happens is parents don't know how to handle it, so they go to the doctor puts them on Ritalin or some sort of medication, and that doesn't help anything. That just masks many of the times the problem that's there, and how to handle that situation now. So there's a lot of different causes and reasons that parenting today, I think, has become so much more of a challenge, because there's so many different distractions and influences that weren't there when I was growing up, when you were growing up, that having mom at home or dad at home and the mom or dad was working, a single income household was the norm, because that was society 40 years ago. I remember as a kid growing up, curling up on my mom's lap because she was home every day. My dad's business, that's all we needed. So my mom was the influence. My kids, the same thing. With my wife being an educator in the school system, the kids couldn't have gotten away with much as far as school is concerned, and we pushed them towards success. And there's no question that I was the hard disciplinarian in terms of walking tall and carrying a big stick, and I could just bring my glasses down, give them the rocks eyebrow, and that was it. I didn't have to say much. Where my wife was more of the talker and talking me down off the ledge more times than not. because of my frustration and lack of patience when they weren't communicating and they weren't using their words. And that goes back to what we were talking about before the break, was communication. You have to have it. Now the big catchphrase, and I'm listening to my wife saying it in school and even TV shows, when somebody's getting mad, what does somebody say in return? Use your words. And children today, I think, have to learn that lesson as well, to speak what's going on as best as they can so things don't get out of hand.
I agree. You know, I actually work with clients right now who don't have words. They are not vocal, and even some who maybe cognitively are not able to express really what they feel, or emotionally they are so over emotional that they're not able to express what's really going on. So what I always share with parents is, please just be calm. Whatever it takes for you on planet Earth, if it's the best acting that you can possibly do, if it's breathing, if it's your lavender, if it's to take a walk, but if you're in the heat of the moment with the child and you're getting frustrated, take a deep breath and calm down and change the environment. So a lot of times I'll turn on music, I'll like to light candles that smell good. We get to doing things, cleaning or doing some chores, or recently we've started a garden. So we're gardening right now and having little kids garden and getting to see the fruits of their labor. That's always very interesting. Or coloring. If you stop and get them to do something artistic in coloring, so we don't have to win the battle. They don't have to do things our way. We're just stopping the emotionality with yourself and your child. So it's, I'll tell you, a no-fail. Maybe it could be possible, but I'm saying a no-fail in my experience is give that kid some colors and a coloring book,
right?
And they're going to start coloring, and go color with them. When's the last time you colored?
Oh, in a true coloring book? Oh, I can't even think. But one thing that we used to do together as a family, and my wife and I have done it periodically since my kids were off to college, we used to go to these, the name that comes to mind would be like the Artful Potters, the Artful Pottery stores, where you buy the piece of pottery and you paint it and all that stuff. And the four of us used to all go together. I don't care if the kids enjoyed it. I enjoyed the hell out of it because it's relaxing. It gives me an opportunity to that artistic side. I mean, I never did any with my hands, okay? I used to love putting model kits together, and I bought a couple a while back, and I started taking the pieces apart, and with my hands, I had trouble with the pieces. But the Artful Potter, you know, I like doing banks and very simple pieces. For me, was just so relaxing. And as a unit, we were able to change the four walls, change the environment, that it became a great family activity. And by the time we were done doing our pieces or done for the day, whatever was going on before that didn't matter.
Changing the stress, changing the atmosphere. You nailed it, Aaron. Is when you're enjoying life, you're the best example for those children. When you're following your dreams, when you're enjoying your life, when you're a happy person, when you're not always miserable, to me, that's the best parenting on planet Earth. If you love life, if you love people, if you love kids, and you love each child, and you appreciate things about them, the kids know it and they see it. One of the first exercises I do with families who come in for family therapy is I want them all to come in so we can kind of get all the story of what's going on in their lives. And one of the first things we do is we go around the room and we say, what do you love about this child? And everybody in the family has to say what's great about that child instead of what the problems are, what this child has done wrong, and how awful, horrible, rotten, mean, and nasty, and dirty. See, and I don't like calling kids the bad kid. Right. Because once they really believe that, and they
there's no change in it.
Right. They lose their confidence. So I don't like saying that he's a bad kid, she's a bad kid. I come from a strength-based approach with my clients, and especially with children. What is good about this child? What can we do as a solution? Yes, I accept that there's been some issues, some ways that this child is overwhelmed, and that's how he expresses it. He or she expresses it through behavior, because they don't do things like you and I. When we get stressed out, we do adult things. When they get stressed out, or they're overwhelmed, or when they're very sad, they're just having a blue day, they don't know how to express it any other way besides, kicking the wall, or no, or nothing's wrong. We know that there's something wrong. So getting down on their level and acknowledging that there's something wrong. And if you can talk to your child, that's half the battle. Communication. If they have another person that they can talk to, a best friend, that is fabulous. And you know the friend, and you know their character. And then another line of help too, a nana, a grandma, grandpa, auntie. Someone in your church, a neighbor that you trust. we need to have a few lines because kids don't always come to you.
Right.
So having
and when they
other
don't
people,
come to you, you better have a good communication with the person that they do go to.
you need to know
so
who they
that
talk
you know
to.
what's going on.
Right. And hopefully your kid will tell you. You know,
Right.
I was talking to Nana, and she said
Right.
that when I get upset like this, that I can call her anytime.
Right.
On the cell phone, Dad just got me. You know, I think that's really healthy. I can't stress enough, parents, if you are healthy and every area of your life is balanced, mentally, spiritually, physically, and emotionally, your children can't help but emulate what you project.
Right. They'll feed off of that.
Absolutely.
No question.
If you're grumpy, fussy, always in a bad mood, you can't expect your kid to be jolly, happy, and do what you say every time you say.
Right.
That was the other thing I forgot was directions, and I think we went over that with following directions. You tell them one time, and then there's consequences if they don't do what you've asked them to do. They go to school with their hair messy. But there's also a reward if they listen. So you wanted to go to Susie's, however, the room's not clean.
Right.
So I'm not able to do that. I can't break my promise to you because I promise you that if your room's not clean, you're not going to get to do the things you want to do.
Right.
Those kinds of things. The other thing that I think comes up a lot is fighting. Did you have a sibling that you fought with when you were a child?
Not real stuff. No. I had. There's 8 years between my brother and I, and 12 years between my sisters. So when they were growing up, I was away in college. The 4-year differential between my sister and brother, physical fighting, yelling, screaming. There was never any physical fighting, but there was. I'm sure they had their screaming and yelling. My daughter's the same thing. As much as twins tend to be on the same wavelength, and my girls are fraternal twins. There were plenty of times, like any regular sibling. Like a husband and wife even, you just get on each other's nerves and stuff happens and your voice raises and you start arguing over what you find out is really nothing at all because it just raised the level. But nothing out of the ordinary that would have caused any concerns for us as parents because we just felt, you know what, hey, your sisters or growing up, like I said, brothers and sisters, it's bound to happen. I mean, it's not, I don't think I've ever spoken to anybody that's ever not had some sort of fight within the family structure.
Who wasn't thrown down the laundry chute?
Exactly.
You know who you are.
That's right.
Threw me down the laundry chute. I think that's pretty normal. And if your children don't fight and they get along perfectly, well, God bless you. Right. I think that's fabulous. They do learn how to resolve a lot of their conflicts by the people around them. So I always say, we don't fight in front of the kids. I'm hoping you don't fist fight in front of the kids, but if you guys have an argument or you
Right.
have a disagreement with somebody else in the family, if you're single parenting and you've just gotten into an argument with the teller, your kids are watching you how you deal with other people. They're going to do what you do, not what you say. So
I've set my kids up a couple of times. I've pulled some nasty pranks on them in stores.
Oh, how nice! Love to embarrass kids.
We have a couple of sayings in my house that I've gone Office Max on somebody, or I've gone Home Depot where I've allowed my radio personality to come out, and I looked at my wife with a wink, so she knew I was only playing with it. And one little quick story: we were in Home Depot a number of years back, and it was August, and they already had Christmas stuff out. So I don't celebrate Christmas. I'm Jewish, so I celebrate Hanukkah. So I was looking for the Hanukkah stuff, right? So I was pretending to be getting really upset that how dare they. So we went to the register. We called. I said, listen, I need to speak to my kids now. They're starting to take those steps backwards. I don't want to be around and embarrassed here. So I just pretended going. I mean, I went off, but I went off with my wife knowing it was just a little joke. August, where's the Hanukkah decoration? And the guy was like, he was so apologetic. And he says, I don't know. Usually we get Hanukkah stuff and I haven't seen it yet. I'm so. I said, well, this is really embarrassing, the whole thing. I said, I don't know if I'm ever coming back here. Walked out. My kids didn't want to know from me from Adam. We get into the car and I said, by the way, girls, I was only messing with the guy. I was not really upset. Then you get the whole, Daddy.
We can never go to Home Depot again.
That's right.
My dad would pick up the phone and say, oh, yeah, she's in the bathroom, or she's got her socks in the microwave, or just really bad dad. He would always try to embarrass us. And if there was a boy around, oh, boy, he would just...
Middle school.
Interrogation.
Middle school, we had the song Carry On My Wayward Son from Kansas on the car radio. And I was taking him to school one day, and it's a great song to air sync and air guitar too, right? Right.
Yep.
So we're 3 blocks from the school, and I'm just jamming. They're in the back seat. I'm jamming to this tune like they've never seen me jam to a song before. And I swear to you, we were 3 blocks away, and they said, "Dad, drop us off here." And it's the only time they've ever said that. And I said, "Why? What's the matter? You're embarrassing us singing the song." I said, "Every parent that is going to hear me singing the song, I guarantee you will join in with me. I'm not dropping off 3 blocks." And I drove them right up. I rolled down the window, and I'm still yelling and screaming. The kids couldn't get out of the car fast enough. It was
it was great.
funny. Oh, there you go.
Nicely done. Embarrass your kids. You should do it.
It's good for the hormones.
I love it. Turn it up.
Don't you cry no more. That's
drum.
I'd be embarrassed.
I know, but it sounds a lot better in the shower. It does.
You know what? I do salsa.
Do you?
Really loud salsa, especially the high schooler. She really hates that.
When my wife goes out of the house in her sweatpants, Stacy gets all upset because it's one of those sweatpants that has like pink or something on the back, you know. She's like, "You're not going to wear those sweats out of the house." She says, "I'm only going through the drive-thru." You know, what's the big deal?
You know what I get from my teenage daughter is, "Are you wearing that?" Are you wearing that? Yeah. We are good medicine. We're going to take a small break. Carry on. Carry on. Don't give up on those kids. That's one thing I want to say to all you parents is if you have hope, you have everything. Never, 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 never give up on your kid and think of them how you want them to be. Mm-hmm. Not how they are right now. All that hard work, all that investment is going to pay off. Don't give up. We're talking about kids on Good Medicine. I see you're the drummer.
I love to drum.
I'm the guitar player.
You're the guitar player.
My little boy, when he was really little, too bad that you can't see this on the television, but you can get it back. But he used to play the guitar like this, and I thought it was hilarious. I encourage that kind of behavior, letting your kids listen to music, enjoy music, let them know what kinds of music is out there. I want them to know who Michael Jackson is. I want them to know what heavy metal is.
I taught my kids from ABBA to ZZ Top, from A to Z. They appreciate every piece of music we've ever played.
I think that's great. I want them to listen to classical. I want them to know who Billie Holiday is. I let them listen to, there's some healing music out there as well. When I want them to calm down, we play that as well. So making memories with your children is very, very important. I know that a lot of today we're talking about behavior and how to get them to behave. I say you behave as a parent. Mm-hmm. The healthier you are, the healthier your children will be. Making memories because, you know, we don't have tomorrow promised to us, and loving that kid as much as you possibly can every single solitary day and doing your best. And when you fail and you make a mistake, it's okay as a parent to say, "I apologize." And when they make a mistake, I teach my kids to say, "I apologize. This is what I did." And as far as the fighting goes, this is real simple. When my kids fight, I ask them to go make choices. So the choices are either you guys stop fighting over the iPad or I take it. You guys find a way to get along and share, or I take it. My children, the older children now, the middle school and high schooler, I would put them in a room together, and they would stay in there and clean, or stop fighting, or they'd stay in there longer, and I'd add on more cleaning. So it really helps them to figure out how we're going to stop fighting and get along. We need to be best friends, or she'll add on the floors. She'll add on the dishes, and I would. I'm like, if you want to clean all day long, it's fine, but you have to do it very calm. And when you tell them to do something, you tell them and walk away. You don't listen to arguments. You don't get into a fight with them and go back away singing your song.
Right.
You're Carry On My Wayward Child, okay?
I used to take the power cords away from their computers, because at the time iPads and all that stuff wasn't there. It was the desktop units. And I'll be doggone if I would just unhook the whole computer and take it out of the room. I would just take the power cord off the computer and say, you have no computers for a week if you can't figure out how to fix this. So that I absolutely agree. There has to be consequences to actions. And if you have to follow through with those consequences, you better do it.
You better do it. Keep your promise, because you don't like it when your promises are broken to you as well. So keep your promise. One of the other things is making sure that you're fair with the consequences. So if they did something like stick their tongue out at you, Usually with that kind of behavior, I just, I laugh it off. I ignore it because I don't want that to happen again. Even say cussing or some of the other things, I just kind of ignore. I don't make a huge big deal out of it, or if they're being really defiant in front of a lot of people. I notice that some parents tend to get very embarrassed and they want to put the heavy down real quick, very firm, and maybe even exorbitantly so because they're embarrassed. Well, in those kinds of situations, I don't say anything. I get real quiet. So then when they want to leave that situation and they want to go get ice cream, my tendency is to say, well, but you blew it back there.
Right.
You embarrassed me. You weren't listening. And so I can't bless that kind of behavior.
Right.
And my favorite line with my children and with the children that I'm working with as well is, I love you too much to allow you to act like the way that you're acting right now. You are too good to act like that, to throw fits, to be mean to your brothers and sisters, to not listen to your teacher. You're better than that. You're worthy of so much more. And I really, truly believe it, and I want them to believe it.
We made a conscious decision to raise good people for the world, our two kids. I mean, I was involved with Kiwanis International, which is a community service organization. So my kids grew up in that environment where others didn't have as much as we had, where they got to appreciate things better. So my wife and I, we purposely structured their growth in a way that we knew we were raising good people, not just great kids, but they were good people for society, for the next person, and what they're doing in their lives right now reflects that. One of them is basically in the college system working as manager of RAs on a college campus, and the other one is working in sound design in theater, working with other people because of passion. And I mean, we work to raise good people, not just good kids. Because I have to say that they're probably our best friends as our two children.
That's
because of the
great.
Relationship we have with them.
That's great. I want to
So-
tell you, good job, Dad.
Thank
If
you.
no one has told you that and said, I appreciate that you raised good kids, I do appreciate it. I really
Well,
do,
thank
because
you.
I know that that's not easy. And I also want to say that sometimes I give parents the perspective, so what if little Johnny doesn't comb his hair and his teeth aren't brushed? On the big scheme of life, don't you just want him to be a good person and,
Sure.
and people like him and be a loving person? Isn't
Absolutely.
that more important than him having straight A's? You know, he has gifts and talents and that only he can fill on this planet. And let's let him do that. So I hope that there's some things that we handled here today with parenting that would answer some questions. And if not, you can always call me at 702-626-9400. Make an appointment with me. And we can talk about some of the deeper issues if you have children that you really are hoping that you're doing the right thing. Listen, it really is my belief that you can't mess kids up because they're not yours to begin with.
They're so
their
flexible.
own person. They're flexible, they're resilient, and people who have had the most horrific childhood, I know that they can come out of it and become the Oprahs, the presidents of the United States. People who've been through trauma and traumatized as a children know it's not what we want for our kids, but if you treat them early and you treat them good and you're healthy, kids can overcome, people can overcome. We're resilient, and especially children. Just love those kids as much as you can. Communicate with them, and the biggest thing is make memories with your children, and always play the air guitar in the car with your kids and sing and laugh, eat lollipops, chew bubble gum, sing songs with them, learn how to do the what are some of the dances that they're doing now?
The Macarena,
No.
the Hokey Pokey,
No, you're way off.
Ring Around the Rosie.
No, whip. Do you know how to whip?
Do I know how to whip?
And nene?
This-
Oh my
no, I
gosh,
don't-
he
I don't
actually
know
does
nene.
know. You do know
How about
to
this?
whip.
How about the swimmer? You know that one?
Yeah, no.
No.
No, we're not doing that one. Yes, learn how to whip in nene, and there's another one that my daughter's trying to get me to do. I don't know. But have fun. Have fun with your kids.
Absolutely. Memories. It's what's important.
Make memories and love them every single second that you can. Parent with joy, parent with happiness, and you be the most healthy person that you can be. And make sure that you listen to Good Medicine every Thursday at Vegas All Net Radio at 11 a.m. every week.